Hey guys, welcome back to Overtakes. This is Misfit.
And this is Kel.
And we are doing our power rankings for Stage 2, Week 1. It's hard to believe that we're already here. Now, let's talk about London. I had them pretty low.
I had London up a little high. I put them at 7.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it low. We probably both have them higher than everybody else.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is if this meta gets into what they're comfortable with, they're still London. Mm-hmm. Even if it takes a couple of matches, they manage to get a win here or there. I have them at 11 now, just kind of in that standby spot for me.
Right. Yeah, I have them a little higher just because I do think that
they're going to force it.
I think they can make it work. They're just going to be like, fuck it, we're going to play dive, and if it works, hell yeah. Then, and I think they'll make it work.
Once they figured out, they had a lot, when all the meta weirdness was going on, where we had the double snipers and all that kind of stuff, that was when Birdring was having problems. Fury had an injury, in Stage 3 there. So you can't really figure out how they are with multiple metas, but as long as there's DPS involved, I think they're good.
Yeah.
Because you have arguably the best player in the league, outside of Jonak, being able to do what he does. Mm-hmm. You also can get Gesture on the Monkey and off of Reinhardt, which also benefits them a shit ton.
Yeah.
And Fury's fantastic off tank anyway, and then your supports are great.
So that's why I think that they... if there's even any semblance of 2-2-2 being viable most of the time, this team is going to be good. And I think Prophet is going to get a chance to play Junkrat because, there's not going to be a bunch of times. He's not going to be played every match, but there are definitely going to be situations where Junkrat is viable simply because of the buffs that he already has going into this one. And
honestly, the map pool.
Yes. Because
we have King's Row, we have Anubis, Horizon Lunar, Hanamura to an extent, you probably could use them a little bit, but there's a lot of maps where you can use Junkrat in this one. Mm-hmm. I have no idea about Paris. That sounds like a movie from the 50s. Yeah. I have no idea about Paris. Starring Gene Kelly and fucking Audrey Hepburn or something.
Yeah, you had them at 10, right?
I had them at 11.
They're 11,
you had them at 7. This is that range where everybody could be interchanged.
Oh, you said Paris, sorry.
Yeah, I was just talking about the map.
That's why I got confused. Oh, Paris, yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. This is going to be a thing, isn't it?
A mess.
Are you talking about Paris the map or Paris the team?
Right.
Well, they both suck.
Yeah, they really do.
There we go.
Yeah,
Problem solved.
I do think the maps help. And then just Prophet, honestly, even if it's not just Junkrat, him being able to play DPS in general helps this team so much because that dude is so freaking good.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Especially when you get out of GOATs, you have hard carry metas. Mm-hmm. And he's a hard carry kind of guy on DPS.
He is. Him, and then also I think the biggest thing is Gesture gets to play Monkey again, and that is what he's best at, and it's going to make a huge difference for this team. Yeah, and
I don't know how he is on Wrecking Ball or anything like that, because I think Wrecking Ball is going to be a little bit more viable.
Yeah, I do think there is going to be some Wrecking Ball, and I do think Gesture is probably a pretty good Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, I don't. Everyone's dreaming of this 4 DPS meta. These teams are not going to take away, and I might call it. They're not going to take. First off, D.Va is too valuable. Mm-hmm. And secondly, there's too many good defensive ultimates in the supports with Zenyatta and even Mercy and Lucio.
I honestly think the DPS, it's probably going to be Lucio Zen.
Or you mean support?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see Mercy getting worked in too if you want to get a little funky with your DPS, like if you're doing double snipers and things like that. Mm-hmm. Or you want to run that far Wrecking Ball thing. I think they can work to an extent on certain maps.
Right.
But most of the time, I think we're going to see Lucio Zen. Or Ana will be in there.
Yeah, it might be, if it's not Zen, it might be Ana. Ana Lucio could work really well.
I know ladder and quick play and any of that stuff does not have any bearing, but the amount of people running bunker comps now is absurd.
Yeah.
So Ana might not be viable at all with the amount of shields and barriers and bullshit. But which sucks because I want to see some more high level Ana play.
Right. I really want Ana to be meta.
And most of the time they're afraid when there's a diva in there anyway. But but diva's not going to go away. There's just too many things that they won't give up with her.
Yeah.
And it basically, other than them deleting diva from the game, it's really not going to happen. Thing. She's mobile. Yeah. She does enough damage. Her ult's semi-useful, and she has defense matrix.
Yeah.
And she has 600 health.
Yeah. Like, she's so ridiculously powerful. Just the base of her kit makes her...
No matter what, you can put Roadhog or whoever in there, it's not the same. There's just too many... And I think that's what happens when people are dreaming of these massive DPS metas.
Right.
An organized team is not going to give up ultimates and the usefulness in the kit to stay alive.
Right.
Because especially if you're running double sniper, you need two healers because, and that's what you might see more mercy because you do have res still.
Right.
Where, a sniper might take out the monkey, but you still can res it.
Yeah, it's just really tough to say how it's going to shake out. I'm really fascinated to see how it's going to be. So
anyway, back to the...
At 11, I had Guangzhou charge.
Yeah, I have we have our 7 and 11 flipped, literally. Yeah. I have the charge up higher. London.
Okay.
I thought the charge could have made the playoffs minus... They had a couple of games where they were kind of head scratchers.
Yeah.
I think that was communication related too. But I think they're getting better at that. And if it gets into they're kind of adaptable.
I will say that, there is a lot to like about this team, but I just think it's going to be tough for them because there's just going to be better teams than them. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I put them up high. I have a little weird faith in them. I don't know why. I've come to like Hotba. Versatility, I think, is really what it is.
Yeah.
And I think with the sniper meta being involved, Happy's going to do well. Their supports are good.
Yeah.
I think they can do decently. I don't think their schedule's absurdly rough. Where some of these teams...
It's not horrible. They do have to play the Shock back-to-back, though.
Yeah. They get the back-to-back on the stage.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Well, they play them on Sunday and then they play them again on Friday. But, to have to play the Shock twice in 2 weeks, that...
That's kind of a tall order.
Yeah.
But they kind of let off the Pacific Division is just better.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Top to bottom. You look at our top 10, it's mostly them.
Pacific, it's weird.
Basketball.
Pacific is like basketball. Yeah. You got the East Coast teams, there's usually there's basically one team that dominates, and it's New York.
Yeah.
They are the LeBron of the East, basically.
There's a few teams that are decent enough that get by them occasionally.
Right. I'd say the London is basically the Celtics from the mid 2000s.
Yeah, Philadelphia falls in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got some there's some decent teams, but it's pretty much dominated by one team, minus just regular season.
Yeah,
Then, yeah, but then in the West it's just or the Pacific in this case, it's just oh, here's all these really good teams. You got the Spurs, you got the Rockets, you got the obviously now the Warriors. You got silly. Before the Warriors, it was the Lakers. There's just all these really damn good teams. Portland.
I was gonna say Portland's usually decent.
Right.
It feels like with Pacific, they're in basketball, and it's the same in in this league, their mid-tier teams could beat other than the best team in the East, probably beat the rest of the teams in the division.
Yep.
Or close to it. You know, if you took a team like, I honestly think the Dynasty could beat almost anybody in the East.
Right.
Or in the Atlantic. And, you know, what are they? 4th or 5th? Most people have them in this league.
Yeah.
I mean, and they actually proved they could beat New York when the money's on the table. So they could beat the best team. I mean, Dallas is another team. They could beat pretty much anybody in the East. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could keep going with that. It's just weird.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Guangzhou, like, they just kind of suffer from being in a really tough area and having a pretty brutal schedule.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to hurt them, but they're still going to be a good team. There's going to be a point where they're going to emerge from some of that mess. I think it's going to be either stage 3 or 4 that they're going to really make a good run.
I think so too, and it depends on, you know, obviously there's a couple teams I'm like, they might get a little bit weaker schedule and that would be okay for them because they're getting like, their schedule's kind of up and down. It's that back-to-back thing that's the killer. But I still like them a little bit higher.
In the same stages. That's rough.
Yeah. Like the Dallas and Shanghai thing, they were kind of on the same level. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're thinking about it before the season, so you're like, okay. And even before the season started, we were both, you know, you always had San Francisco above the Charge, like a lot, generally. Right. Okay, so we're going to do 10 to 8 now?
Yeah. So at 10, I had the Chengdu Hunters. At 9, I had the Dallas Fuel. And at 8, I had Toronto Defiant.
We agree on 2, except for I had Atlanta at 10. Mm-hmm. And you had the Hunters. Now, you're higher on the Hunters. I feel like people are getting this misconception about me and the Hunters, that I hate them. I mean, don't hate them. You
did rip on them pretty hard a few times. So you gotta give them that.
Well, I did. I made a whole video of ripping on them, kind of, but not really. It was kind of like they were fun. But there's only so far the fun can go with the GOATS thing versus that, and which is why they won 3 games instead of more.
Right. And I do think that, like, obviously with the Wrecking Ball changes, they're going to be better, and I do think that they have DPS that are pretty solid, and they've got some pretty like, overall, they've got a pretty solid team that seems to communicate pretty well, and I think that is, like, they've got the best teamwork of any...
Oh yeah,
if any of the other teams, minus maybe Guangzhou. Like, I think them and Guangzhou are actually on the same level as far as their communication and teamwork.
Oh yeah, I will definitely go 100% with that. Even you can see it getting better as the stage went on too, where they everybody knew what everybody was doing, and whether they're playing the Wrecking Ball thing or they're like, fine, we're gonna play GOATS, right? You know, and I mean, I've watched a couple of their matches, like, you know, after the fact. They're not terrible. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's like, with me, there's like a reluctancy to put them up higher just yet. I want to see them beat, now they beat Atlanta, but I don't know where Atlanta was at that point.
Right. Yeah, it was a weird time.
Yeah. But they gave Vancouver a run, but they, you know, there's just like back and forth with these, like the ideas with this team. But I think they're obviously entertaining. I think with the DPS meta, I think they will be good. And much like a couple people made points on Saturday with, you know, if they've already been practicing this ahead of, you know, everybody else, so they could get a good jump on people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
it could get them off to a hot start, and then hopefully that is able to continue. I worry that it might falter a little bit towards the end once teams kind of figure it out and figure out their way to stop them. So yeah, that's good on Chengdu. Who did you have at 10?
I had Atlanta. We already talked about Atlanta.
Yeah, we've already talked
we had them
Atlanta.
Like kind of flipped.
Then let's talk Dallas.
Yeah, let's talk Dallas. What's going to happen with this team?
Right? They still suffer from Two-Face.
Yeah.
Like, there's times where they just look unbeatable, and then other times where they are just a straight up dumpster fire.
Yeah, the burn blue dumpster from last year.
Right.
But I think, to me, it just feels like they were up and down a little bit, but there's something that feels better about this version than the last one. I don't know, and the players really haven't changed.
Yeah, I think, well, they're definitely
RCK.
More consistent than they've been, but they still got some things to figure out, and I think that their roster kind of holds them back. Like, they've got some good players, but it's a weirdly assembled roster. Like, they don't tend to really, like, they're not very cohesive, and then, like, there's just not a whole lot of talent, honestly.
Yeah, not like super above board talent.
Exactly. So they make
it's
do
above
with what
average.
they have.
It's all above average talent, though.
Yeah.
And it's so
but
hard to say.
There's no, like, one truly great player, or even, like, a few.
Yeah, and the thing is the one really good player they have is head screwed on who knows where.
Yeah.
At any given moment. At this point, exactly. I don't even know if he's a great player.
Yeah.
I don't like saying that because I love Effect to death. I love the way he plays. I love, the way he, the aggressiveness and all that stuff. But I don't know where he's at.
Yeah, it's hard to tell anymore.
Yeah, but I do think if the meta shakes certain ways, though. I think 9 is a good spot for them. I think they could jump into playoffs, like stage playoffs and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Like, they've got a good chance of jumping up, but this is about, maybe not quite their floor, because their floor could be a little bit lower, but I think this is kind of about where they're going to land on, like, their average possibility, I guess.
Yeah. And I think, one thing I do think, though, is the more RCK and OGE play together, I think that's going to help. And I agree. Think they're another one of those teams, DPS meta, they could be a lot better. You can have, if you switch in, like, there's like 9 million possibilities. But, I mean, you have AKM, you have Effect, if he's mentally okay. Zachary, right. Taimu. I mean, you get a double sniper, you can have Taimu, and I don't know who would be your Hanzo on that team.
Probably Zachary, I want to say.
Zachary. Or, however you want to run it, too. You still have AKM if Soldier's viable. If, other hit scans become more viable, he's good on all those. It's just one of those teams where you're like, could be really good, and they could just be average. It's just hard to peg Dallas. Every time you want to look at Dallas,
they are going to benefit from being that kind of underdog more so than being, like, highly favored.
Yeah. When they kind of go not under the radar, but people are just like, oh, it's Dallas.
Yeah. It's kind of when they're at their best.
Yeah. And they surprise you.
Yeah.
They're not quite in Houston where they surprise you and piss you off, and then you pick them and then piss you off because they surprise you and lose to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not quite that. Because usually if they lose, it's to a good team.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to a really bad team.
The thing is sometimes when they lose to a good team, they get absolutely slaughtered.
Oh, yeah, they do.
And you're like, what the fuck, Dallas? And then next week, you're like, okay, what happened last
Where was
week?
any of that?
Yeah. So let's talk about one of our favorite teams, Toronto.
Yeah.
This is another mystery for them.
Yeah, I think this team, I mean, their tank line and their support line, their supports are a little questionable.
Yeah. Neko is good. Roki
Neko's going to be good no matter what the meta is. I think
Roki's okay.
Yeah, he's kind of their weak link, and it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out for them with that, and then their DPS as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I'll be brutally honest. I do not know how Ivy and Stellar do as far as playing DPS, because I've only seen them play Zarya and Brigitte. I mean, We've seen some stuff. I've watched a couple of things. Ivy's above average. Same thing with Stellar. Mm-hmm. They're decent enough. I just worry if the meta shifts into something weird, because I think ground goats so hard.
Yeah.
I don't know where their heads are going to be.
Yeah, I think that's going to be... That's the biggest question mark for this team is, like, if it does go back to 2-2-2, like, do they resist it and just keep playing goats? Or are they one of those teams? And, like, I feel like it'll be effective to start, but it will start to falter later on.
Yeah, and
I worry they might struggle to adapt.
And Bishop's a good coach.
Yeah.
So, and remember, he did coach London where they ran a lot of, I wouldn't call them weird strats, but they ran really, obviously, fantastic dive comps, and they also ran, some different stuff with double snipers and all that stuff.
True.
So, I mean, he's a good coach there. The one thing I worry about, though, that concerned me is they really didn't beat any superior teams to them. They got slaughtered, for the most part.
They really got worked them.
They got worked by New York, San Francisco in the playoff,
and San Francisco,
someone else clobbered them Atlanta, and that was when Atlanta was kind of rolling.
Yeah, like so,
there's concerning things with the way they play for sure. Yeah. But I think they're decent enough. And they're coached well enough because it's also.
I think they're that's why I'm with you on that. Like I think despite that, they're still able to sneak into that last spot. Yeah,
because I think Bishop, he didn't get enough credit last year. I think people were. He finally at least came out and said what the hell is going on with him, which is fantastic. So people could stop blaming him for bullshit that didn't happen.
Right.
But I think he's a big factor in this. There's a lot of coaches that are going to be big factors. Keep them in that top 10 area. I think they're going to have to work, though.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it shakes out for them. All right, so let's do 7 through 5. At 7, I had London. We talked about them. 6, I had Seoul Dynasty. And 5, I had the LA Gladiators.
Okay. 7, I had the Charge. We talked about them. Mm-hmm. 6, I had the Dynasty as well. 5, I had Philly.
Okay.
So we have the Gladiators and Philly flip-flopped. All right, so let's talk Dynasty.
Yes.
So they surprised everyone and beat New York in the playoff. And they were kind of up and down a little bit in the last stage with the meta they were running, but
they looked so good to finally finish it.
Yeah,
they finally kind of like got over that hump of like they were in a position. All they had to do was win to get in, and they did. And then to rebound or to bounce off of that, they go and they beat New York. Like. They should be feeling very, very good about themselves for good reason because they look excellent in those times. And then I think this is going to be the team that's going to benefit the most from the changes because I think this is a team that's going to force dive and make it work.
Yeah, and they can.
Yeah.
Because, you have Fissure,
mm-hmm.
and then it falls back into once again, you have guys being able to go back into their respective positions. Fleta can do what Fleta does.
Exactly.
He's like he's a 1A to Prophet.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in that range. I mean,
but he's going to have a better team around him this year so they can properly take advantage of that.
Yeah, and the one thing that I'm wondering what they're going to do is so if we get into like a situation where you're running dive, are you going to bring Zunba back in, or are you going to run Michelle?
That's probably the toughest question, but I feel like with the way that he played, Michelle earned the starting spot no matter what.
Yeah. But when Zunba played, he played pretty good.
He really is. I think, man, they need to try and get something for Zunba.
Yeah, I think they could get something for Zunba. Something really good to a team that, needs an off-tank.
Right.
Of that caliber. I mean, there's a few of them that are around. I mean...
Shanghai would benefit so much from getting a guy like Zunba.
Yeah. I think that would be him and Gamsu.
That would be ridiculous.
I just keep saying gesture. I don't know what Everybody has gesture on their team this year, apparently, with me. But, I mean, other than that, though, I think they got two huge monkeys off their back.
Yeah.
By beating London and beating New York, I think, even though they lost to Vancouver, which at this point is whatever, they beat everybody else.
Right.
But I think psychologically beating London and New York, the two teams that fucked you every week.
Just bullied you last year.
When you were supposed to be the big guy in the block, and you beat them back-to-back weeks, is big. Especially obviously for the guys that had been there. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously Fisher, I'm sure, thinks it's because he's there.
Right.
But that's beside the point. However they got there, they still got there.
Yep.
And I think that's going to actually work in their favor going into this. That's why, we both have them at 6.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be a nice snowball into, all right, we got into the playoffs. We beat New York in the playoffs. We beat London to get in the playoffs. Yeah, we didn't beat Vancouver, but they're next on our list. Mm-hmm. I think if they have that mentality going in, I think that 6 is a good spot. They could go up higher. I don't expect them to go too low, though. I don't expect them to drop out of the top 10. I think their
floor is 8. Because, they just look good, and their talent is finally living up to the play that kind of talent should be capable of. Yeah, it's
all of a sudden, it was kind of like with the Gladiators a little bit. It's almost like they had one of those player meetings where it's all right, we need to work this out. There needs to be some give and take with how we're playing. Everybody doesn't want to play overly aggressive, and some of the other guys don't want to play super passive. So we need to make this pact of how we're going to do this. And whatever they did worked.
Right. And, they just look 10 times better.
Yeah.
I'm super happy for this team. So do you want to do...
Let's do 5 and 4 since we just have them flip-flopped.
Okay. I
have the Gladiators at 4 and Philadelphia at 5, and you have them flipped around.
Yes. Let's talk Gladiators.
Yeah. Well...
I think this team... Well, I think they finally figured it out.
Yeah, and they worked out... Because I watched the thing with Big Goose, and he said a lot of it was communication.
Yeah.
And it wasn't big communication things, it was minor things. And I think that had to do with, especially with Roar, because once they kind of fixed their communication issues, it seemed to have... He wasn't dying as much.
Mm-hmm. Those supports were able to properly support him.
Yeah.
And, they just looked like the team we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season, and I think that's going to be able to carry over, honestly, no matter what meta is, because they are just stacked.
Yeah, they are. And they are fucking meta-proof, honestly.
Yeah.
Even if it got into something weird, they have enough people that can pull weird heroes out of their ass. You have Hydration, Surefour, and Shaz. Right. Whatever your niche hero pick is, they can run it.
Exactly. And then I think Roar he was a really good Rhine when he was able to play that, but I feel like I'm pretty sure he's a even better Winston. I feel he's probably a pretty decent Wrecking Ball. Feel like if Wrecking Ball is going to be viable, some of these guys are going to grind the shit out of him.
Although, from the little I saw Hydration playing Wrecking Ball, he's pretty fucking good.
Yeah. That's a very good possibility. If they could find a way to get...
if you're going to run Wrecking Ball on certain maps, you have a plan going in, put Hydration on them.
Mm-hmm. And then you could run... if there's a way that they could run Surefour... Yeah, if they can run Surefour, Decay, and Hydration all at the same time, I feel like they're going to do it. Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah. That would be gross.
And then Doomfist is definitely better than he was. So, Hydration has that. So
yeah, I think this team is going to be really good no matter how the meta shakes out.
I think Bishu coming back is going to help them out a lot, too.
Yes.
I don't think he was the highest skill cap player. Not the best, all around. You're not going to go Bishu's the best D.Va player in the league. But
no, definitely not. But he is...
He brings all of the things... at an above-average level. Exactly. He's not great at one thing and terrible at another.
He's like a leader.
And I think that's going to help them out. Plus, he's a translator, too.
Yes.
He's that...
And that's going to help them with their communication. I think he was a big help with that, even when he wasn't playing towards the end. Yeah.
And I think he's going to be huge for them. I had him one higher because I have loftier expectations, I guess. I think, because I look at it and I say, if there's anytime Widowmaker is going to get involved or something like that, Sureforce is going to be out there. Decay is going to do fantastic playing, and Hydration's your we need weird shit guy.
Exactly.
And if you just really want to run all weird shit, just tell Shaz to do something.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's a good about
that's
the Gladiators. Philly. Let's move on. Philly, yeah.
So I have them at 5, you have them at 4.
Yeah.
I have them one below just because I think they're a tick not worse is not a good word. They're kind of on the same level. I just think that the Gladiators are a smidge better because there's more versatility.
The Gladiators are a little more versatile, but if any team's gonna be able to force a meta, it's Philly.
Yeah.
This team, I mean, like, they are so good, and any chance that they can get Sato off of Reinhardt,
get him on the Winston. Yeah.
Back onto Winston, he will be much more comfortable, and that will just make them even better. And hey, they're already a really good team. Oh, and then you get to put EQO and Carpe back on DPS. Oof. Yeah,
that's the scary part. It gets into a DPS meta. Those guys get to go where they go.
Mm-hmm.
And you still got Boombox and Neptuno, and you still have Poco.
Exactly.
And because, like I was saying earlier, you're not going to... Taking D.Va out's not like necessarily the best option.
No. No matter what, D.Va's still the best off-tank.
Yeah. And the thing is like, you have EQO who can play anything.
Mm-hmm.
Projectile-wise or otherwise, because he ran D.Va a couple times, too, when they were trying... they were running triple DPS, and then they wanted to switch out. He would jump on the D.Va.
Right.
Last year. So, and he's a good shot caller, and then you have Carpe, who's just mechanically, psychotically insane, crazy.
Absurd. I never ceases to amaze me how good that Carpe is, and then you get EQO on there with being able to play any of the characters he does. Like, it's probably the most disgusting DPS combo in the league, honestly. Except
I would
maybe
say.
San Francisco.
Yeah, depending on what combo they run.
Yeah.
San Francisco. I think people think of San Francisco as, Carpe's the Widowmaker, and you have EQO who does the Pharah thing. Mm-hmm. I don't think they realize how versatile those two guys are in their hero pools and what they can do. If you think about last year, that
Carpe is an incredible tracer.
You can play Soldier, you can play McCree, and then I'm sure you
can play Ashe if Ashe somehow finds their way in.
Yeah.
And then EQO is probably one of the best Genji in the league. His Pharah's insane.
His Hanzo's insane.
His Hanzo's ridiculous. So, like, if it's double sniper, they're set.
If you do that,
really any combination, those two will be able to cover, because they each have half of the DPS, like the exact opposite of the other.
Yeah, it works out fantastic. And
the only thing I think they don't quite have is a Junkrat. I don't know how their Junkrat play is, because I didn't really see a whole lot.
I don't remember it too much.
It wasn't memorable.
It might have been EQO, might have been on Junkrat.
It probably. That would make
probably wasn't terrible.
No, but he wasn't taking over like Prophet.
Prophet or Jake or
Jake at times.
Or Fleta at times too when he played.
Yeah, Fleta was ridiculous at Junkrat.
Yeah. People forget about that. Like in a couple of those the early parts of the stage 1 and 2, he was kind of owning on Junkrat a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that this team, they're top 5 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not going to fall out either. They have too many good players and they have good coaches, and it's becoming a league because the top 5 is pretty much the top 5. I mean, you're going to have some surprises here and there, but you know who's going to be up there.
Exactly.
Like, kind of permanently ingrained in there, which is fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to dethrone the top dogs.
Yeah, so let's talk.
Because when they're good, they're just going to keep doing it. They're not going to be like, oh man, guys, we're playing too well. Let's change everything.
Yeah. The meta shifts. Oh, the top 3 teams are done. No, that's not going to happen.
Nope.
The middle teams are going to be fucked, and the bottom teams will be where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk
3,
top dogs.
Yeah. Number 3, I had New York. Number 2, I had San Francisco. And number 1, I had Vancouver.
Now, I had Shock at 3, NYXL at 2, and Vancouver at 1. Because until someone proves me otherwise, Vancouver's number 1. And they haven't even gotten to play DPS yet. Or like a 2-2-2 meta or anything like that.
That's the most terrifying part is like...
Because you know they're good at that.
I thought, if anything, their GOATs was probably going to be their weakest. And like that was the biggest question mark is whether or not they would have been great at GOATs. But I mean, it makes sense because they kind of were in contenders during that time. But we also know that their dive is ridiculous. There's not a meta. There's basically not a meta that this team hasn't been part of and dominated.
Yeah, I know that's a scary thought. Yeah, because if you take like some of the guys like Stitch is on the bench, and he's a fantastic DPS player. It's just there's nowhere for him in a GOATS meta.
Then you got Haxel,
who gets to play Genji. Yeah. And then Xiaomin Su doing what he does, and then... do you want to take Bumper off of Reinhardt?
Yeah, because he's an insanely good...
Yeah. He's good Winston.
Winston. Like,
I don't know,
that's the most insane part, is like, they probably could just be like, fuck it, flanking Ryan, dive Ryan.
Dive Ryan.
They would be the team that runs Dive Ryan.
Dive Ryan, no shield.
Swings only. Right-click only Ryan meta.
Right-click Ryan.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Or left-click Ryan.
Yeah, shift in and then just start doing your business. Shift in with
swing your hammer.
Shift in with a defense matrix diva just like coming in with you.
Oh god.
Oh, that would be amazing. Now I want that. I want to see that.
If any team can make it happen, it would be them. But I feel like he's going to be an insane... We know he's an insane Winston. Yeah. And then I feel like he would be an insane Wrecking Ball, too. Yeah,
he played a little bit like against Chengdu. He didn't look bad. It's hard to say because the only team you really saw run Wrecking Ball was the Hunters with Aming.
True.
But,
yeah, Vancouver's... They're staying at 1.
Yeah.
Like, until anyone proves otherwise, like you said, like, they are just... They're the top dogs, and...
They're there for a reason.
Someone has to dethrone them.
And the next 2 teams we had flip-flop. I call them tied, really.
Yeah.
I just put a number next to them just to put a number next to them. Because New York, if it gets into a DPS meta, look out. Until the money's on the table, and then they do whatever the fuck they do.
Yeah. Then you really actually have to question things.
Yeah. Then you go to the casino and bet against them.
Lower.
Yeah.
Because San Francisco, up until like they showed that they have what it takes to win, because they grounded out with Vancouver in that game.
Yeah, they did. And
like even though they didn't win, like that was that could have gone either way.
And they showed like a serious nutsack in that game, man.
They really did.
I didn't think they were like the nut up and just, all right, let's go toe to toe, and we're going to give you literally everything we have until we're exhausted kind of team. And I'm not saying that they weren't like close to that, but they put up a fight like I wasn't really expecting from them.
Yeah. But then like you get any kind of DPS on this team now that get to actually play DPS. You have the most stacked DPS roster in the entire league. Like you have enough for like 3 teams.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have arguably 3 of the best Tracers.
Mm-hmm.
You have one of the best Genjis with Architect. You have one of the best soldiers with Baby Bay, if he comes in, and Striker's pretty good with him too. From what I saw last year, I remember he was pretty damn decent on him.
Yep, and then you have
Sinatra.
You have Sinatra, who has a ridiculous hero pool. Basically, at least 2 godlike widows in Sinatra and Striker.
Yeah. And if you need a backup, you have... I mean, Baby Bay's never going to get on the scene, but he's really good, too, at Widow. Yeah. I mean, Striker's above average on Widow. But still, it doesn't... He's still good at everything else.
There's so many... Like, yeah, you basically have, 2 of the top tracers in the entire league in Sinatra and Striker.
Architect, who's a underrated projectile player.
Yep.
In my mind. He really impressed me last year.
How good this team is. And then, with how well Super played, I think the biggest question is how is Super's Winston going to be?
I think it's better than this Rhine.
Oh, well then they're fine.
And Shohyobin is good. And
quietly been a very, very good diva.
And then you have Violet.
Yes.
Which playing your flex support. I mean, and then Moth proved he was probably top 3. Lucio in the league. For sure.
And
which surprised me.
Lucio is not going to go away.
No.
Even with the nerfs, I still think that he provides enough value.
Which is why I have the fear that Goats is not going to go away as much as we want it to.
Yeah.
Because you have the Boop thing. I mean, I think these guys are they're gonna play whatever works.
But I think that he opens it up more so for Goats for him to still be viable, but Goats to go away because the value that he brought before was helping Zarya move as fast as she was able to. Yeah, Zarya and Ryan, whereas he's going to be more to help your DPS catch up with your tanks.
Yeah, which I guess that makes sense. But either way, he still is flexible enough to play because he can play Anna and he can play Mercy really well.
Mm-hmm. So especially if Anna somehow finds her way in there,
he's good at Anna, and so is Violet. Yeah. So, I mean, this team is.
Well, that's what I mean. Is if Anna's there, then there's going to be a lot of Lucio play, and I feel like Violet would be an insane Anna player.
Frightening.
Yeah, so I feel like San Francisco. I put them above New York because New York's got to prove it.
They got to prove it when it counts. We
had them, and I think they will. But man, the way that they fell apart against Seoul was.
I just don't understand how a team. Maybe it's because. I don't want to call it overconfident. Maybe I'll call it overconfidence. When they go in and they're overconfident, during the regular season, they go in with this swag. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of you do what you do. We're just going to counter and knock the shit out of you.
Exactly.
But it seems like when they get into that playoff time, they have that swag to start.
They just have so much confidence that they can beat you that anything besides what you've been doing.
If it doesn't go to their plan,
if it doesn't go with their plan, then they fall apart.
They hit you and you're like, oh yeah, watch this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, ults are flying everywhere, eating Gravs and dead Lucios, and I still maintain what I say about that one. But I mean, they lost that in other maps before that.
They really did.
That being said, they're still top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. This team is just so freaking good, and I feel like they're probably they might lose one game this stage.
Yeah.
That's why they're up here. Even if they blow it in the playoffs, they're still gonna be a top 3 seed.
Yeah.
Come stage playoffs.
Because if there's a team that has as many DPS players as San Francisco, it's them. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this is another team that is completely stacked with DPS. And then you have 2 of the best tanks in the league, and
2 of the best supports.
Last year's MVP.
The only team that can stack up DPS-wise to San Francisco right now is them.
Yeah.
Because you have Nene, Flower, Sabiobi, Pine, Libero.
And Libero. Yeah, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. And I can't wait to see like some DPS stuff because I want to see Flower and fucking Pine and Sabiobi. I want to see some of these guys just go off.
Absolutely.
As much as I have the love-hate thing with the pick meta kind of scenario where, you get like the big flash plays instead of like the great teamwork and all that like you normally get, but I still like seeing that.
Yeah.
I like watching Pine do that. Does this man's brain work on a different plane of reality?
Exactly. It feels like it at times, for sure.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys. So that's going to do it for our first power rankings of Stage 2. Expect them to change, I'm sure, depending on the meta and whatever the fuck else happens with it. But we will come at you later on in the week with... All right, so what we'll do this week, we'll be, doing our pick. I'll be doing the picks where I just kind of rapid fire through all of our picks for you guys. And then, of course, Sunday night, we're going to have our back cap on Twitch, where we go over all the weekend's events, any news that happens and all that stuff, and talk to you guys about, the matches. And, you guys are more than welcome to come in. It'll be probably around 10:30 Eastern, which is what we've been shooting for and we've been kind of going at Sunday nights. Of course, thank all of you guys for all of your support, all of the views you guys give us on YouTube, and all the listens you guys give us on various podcast channels like iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you pick up the podcast version of this. We thank you a lot. And don't forget to hit our Patreon page if you want to support us. It's down below in the links. Anything you guys do would be great. We have a couple different tiers. We're going to start putting up some stuff once we get rolling. We started it kind of in the in-between. Once we get rolling, there's going to be some exclusive to that content from, me by myself, Kel by himself, us together, outtakes, even just articles that we kind of come together with like ideas and stuff like that. Who knows what else down the road. But you guys, if you sign up and subscribe to that, you'll be privy to some of that stuff where other people are not going to be. But other than that, thank you guys, and we will catch you later on in the week with picks. Enjoy the matches, and we will talk to you later.
Catch you guys in the next one. Later.